Hi folks, this is Karim Raouf from IT Visualizer channel. Today we'll continue our lab, the Star Trek lab. This is the 9th video we have been discussing. Sorry, this is the 10th video we have been discussing in the previous video the following. So guys, this is the 10th video. We have been discussing in the previous video a very important concept of classifying files. Okay, so we will have a file server, okay, and we will have our scenario. What we will have in our scenario, remember in our scenario we have just a moment, I need to show you all just a little bit of a graph here. So we have in our scenario we have the Star Trek network, or the Star Trek Active Directory OU structure or organizational structure. Let me show you all this one. So here we can see that we have, just a moment, let's give it here. So here we have our Active Directory, which consists of a main organizational unit. This is the Starfleet Command Center, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 sub-organizational units. These are the ships, okay, and every sub-organizational unit will contain computers and groups and users, okay. So what we will do, first of all, let's consider that the Starfleet Command, or the main organizational unit, it is like a main office, and as for the sub-organizational units, this will be considered as branches for this main office. So what we will do, we'll have a file server, and for this file server we will make every sub-organizational unit, the computers in it, to put its data on this file server. So we will have a file server, for example, and we have a folder for Columbia on this file server, and then we have a folder for DFS Space on this file server, okay. So what we were talking about in the previous video, that, or we have been talking in the previous 2 videos, that we need to have a way to classify classify the files that will be put on this file or these folders on the file server. So as I said before, we will have a file server, we have a folder for Columbia, for example, and a folder for Deep Space. We need to have a way that the files that will be put in these folders on the file server to be classified or tagged, okay, because also this folder, in the folder of Columbia, will have subfolders for each department or for each groups of Active Directory in it. For example, the Columbia ship, okay, will have an IT group, it will have HR group, it will have accounting group. So every one of these groups will have a folder or a subfolder in the Columbia main folder, which is on the file server, okay. So we need to have a way to classify the files for each folder and its subfolder. So when I run a report from the file server, I can easily know that, for example, the Columbia folder has, for example, 7 files related to the IT, 7 files related to the HR, 7 files related to every department. So it's something like tagging the file. We need to tag the file or classify the files so we can be able to run reports to get exactly which department have which files, or which ship have which files, and to be easily to search. For example, if I need to search, for example, in the Columbia ship, the files for the IT, I can easily find them when the files are classified or tagged, okay. So the classification of files, it is a way through the file server that you can tag the files on the file server, so you can easily search for them and easily count them or identify them. And actually, by tagging the files, we can have rules, or we can control more the access on these files. For example, if I need, or we make a file for the IT, for example, if I need some files in the IT to be accessed by certain persons in the departments, for example, if the department of IT has IT manager, IT director, IT assistant, supervisor, for example, all of this personnel have one folder for the department to put their data in it. So for example, if I need certain files in this folder for the IT to be only accessed by the IT manager, I can do this when the file is classified. So I can tell or make a rule, something called DAC rules, that I can limit the access to certain files based on their classification, okay. I will see this in the lab, but I will do this in the lab in another way, but we have discussed this in the previous two videos. So we have done classification of the files, okay, on the file server according to three criteria. So here we have the criteria by the location, so we will tag the files by the location they came from or from the department that they are created in, or due to the species that has created them. So we will have three criteria for classification of files: the location, the department, the species. For example, for the location we have the Columbia ship, so the files from the Columbia ships will be tagged with a ticket called Columbia. And for example, the files of the IT department in the Columbia ship will be tagged or will have a ticket on the file called IT. And then at the end, if I am a human and put in a human species in the IT department in the Columbia ship, the file also will be tagged or ticket as human. Okay, so we will have, for example, a file in the IT department in the Columbia ship put by human. The file, for example, if it is a Word file, it will be tagged with three things: it is Columbia ship, department IT, species human. It will have, or the file will have three tickets: ticket the IT Columbia, the IT department, Columbia ship, human species. So files will be classified using folder classifier method in the file server resource manager. I said before we have two ways of classifying the files. It's something called folder classifier or content classifier. What is the content classifier? First, it is a way that the file server will automatically tag the files or classify the files according to a certain word or phrase he will find in the files in the file server. For example, if you have a file on the file server and in this file you have the word IT or Columbia or human, he will tag the file or classify the file as IT or Columbia ship or human. So he will search for the content of every file and search for a certain word. If he find it, he will classify the file according to this word. For example, if he find the word Columbia in the file or in the Excel or Word or whatsoever, he find the word Columbia, he will tag the file as Columbia. So this is the content classifier method. As for the folder method, it doesn't need this way. What does it, or how does it work? If you have a folder named Columbia and there is a file in this folder, it will tag the file as Columbia directly. So it depends on the folder that the file is in it. As for the content classifier, it depends upon a certain word found in the file itself. Okay, so this is the two ways of classifying. And at the end, we have created classification rules to tag files automatically for each location, each ship, each department in this ship, each species in these ships. Okay, and then we run reports to classify, we run reports from the file server to count the classified files and to tag the files or classify them as well. So this we have done in the previous two videos. In this video we will begin working with something called DFS or distributed file system. This is a way, or this is the method that we will use in the file server that we have created to make it more redundant or more let's say more stable and more stable, we can see, and it doesn't and we have a backup solution if this file server is down. So we will use something called DFS or distributed file system. What is this method and how does it work? We will have a little bit of a graph here. So let's have a little bit of a look here. So remember guys here, so remember that we have our file server and we will have every ship. Remember that we have 8 ships, so every ship will have a folder by its name on the file server. So first we will have a main folder on the file server, we will call it data cube, and then we will have for every ship a folder in this main folder, and then this subfolder will contain the departments. So the Columbia ship will be in the main folder data cube, and this folder will have, or this folder for the ship will have subfolders for every department. For example, we will have a folder for the IT in the Columbia ship, a folder for the engineering in the Columbia ship, a folder for the medic team in the Columbia ship, a folder for the researchers in the Columbia ship, a folder for the ship squad team in the Columbia ship. So this is the departments in every ship, and this is subfolders from this folder. So we will have for every ship a folder in the file server, which will be in the data cube main folder, and then every folder for the ship will be divided, or you can create subfolders for every department in this ship. Okay, so this is every ship will have a folder on the file server, and every folder will have subfolders for each department in the ship. These folders will be taken and be inserted in the DFS naming namespace. What is the DFS naming space? I will talk about it in a moment. So what is the DFS? Okay, or what is this way that we will use it on the file server? In the beginning we will have a folder, okay, that we will name it department shares. Okay, and this folder will be shared, and it will be shared according or by the domain, then the share name of the folder. Remember guys that when we share any folder on the file server, basically to access it we need to put the file server name, or the file server or the name of the file server. We need to put it first, and then the share or the share name of the file that we have shared. So this is the way that we can access this share. So for example here, if we have a folder named Columbia on the file server, so to access it from any computer in the ship we need to put // then we put the server name that this folder resides on, and then / the name of the share, or the share name of the file itself. Okay, so this is the way. But in the DFS what we will do, we will have a folder named department shares, and we will share it, but we will not share it by the server name. We will put the domain name. Okay, so to access this shared folder in the DFS we need to type the domain name, then the share name of the folder. Okay, so this is a very good way, and I will tell you why we do this, why we don't use the file server name and then the share name of the folder that we have shared. Okay, so in this department shares we will have a way to insert our Columbia ship files or folders, as we have seen here. So we will insert them, okay, in here. Okay, and then after that these files will not reside on one file server. We will have two file servers. So we can see here that these files will be on two servers. We will have a server called starcom lars01 and starcom lars02. So our files will be distributed, or we will have an exact copy on two file servers. Okay, and if any user work on these folders, okay, it will be copied, or the data that will be worked on this folder will be copied exactly to the other server. So for example, if I am in the Columbia ship and I am in the IT and I'm working on the file in this folder, after finishing my work it will take a copy, this server will take a copy of what I have done and put it in the same folder in the other server in the same file. So it's these two files, or these two servers, will be an exact copy of each other, something called DFS replication. Okay, so we have two file servers. Okay, our data will be distributed typically on them, or we will have our data copied exactly on them. So we have two copies, identical copies of our data on two file servers, and they are all updated all the time. So if I work here and do some job, the work that I have done here will be copied to the other file in the other server. Okay, so let's have a scenario here. What if this server is down? Okay, if this server is down, okay, no problem, the users can work on the other server normally, and they can access their data, and the data will be up to date. Okay, so how this is done? It will be done using the DFS namespace. So when we shared, or when we shared our folder, or we are working with our DFS, we are working with the domain name, not the server name. So the share is it is related, or it is attached to the domain name, not to a server name. So if we are working with the normal sharing process on a file server, our share will be related to the file server itself. So we need to put the file server server name and then put the share name of the folder. So if this server is down, we cannot access the shared folders anyway. Okay, so but when we share it as a domain name, okay, this is very a good way, because the domain name, it's not down. We have two file servers, and the domain name or the domain controller, it's still, because these are two file servers and there is a domain controller, so the domain itself will not be down. The server can be down, but the domain will not be down. So sharing the folders according to the domain, it is a very good idea, because the domain in most times it is not down. And we have also the domain controller, we have an additional domain controller, so the domain controller will not be down. And actually this helps us when this server is down, we can access the other one, okay, because as I said before, the shares, okay, or the folders will be accessed, okay. So this is the trick. The folders here is accessed through this folder, okay, and this folder, okay, it is not shared according to the server name of both file servers. It is shared according to the domain name, okay. So it is very easy when this one is down, okay, there is no problem, because the other one is working and it is accessing, or the files are accessed according to the domain name, not the server name. So this is the way that we will use the DFS. So there will be a DFS namespace, and there will be two file servers, and they will have the same folders on it. So we have two file servers and we have the same folders on it, and the two servers will replicate the folders between them, so they have the exact data, okay. And as I said before, this helps us because we are accessing these folders from the department shared folder, and this shared folder, it is shared according to the domain name and the share name of the file, or share name of the folder, okay. This helps us that we can, when this file server is down, we can access it from the other one, okay, because the share name, it is related to the domain, not to the server itself. So this is, we will discuss in this video how we can do it, okay. And at the end, what we will see, when a user access his computer, for example, this is James Kirk, he is in the ship squad team, he will see this department share DFS, okay. He will see in his computer, he will see this folder, and this folder contains the folders of the ship, okay. So what he will do, we will see here that when we access this, he will see an M, and this is the department shares DFS share, okay, and this will be mapped according to a group policy. So we will make a group policy that will map the department shares DFS, okay. So this folder will be shared, okay, and mapped, okay, and this folder contains all of the folders of the ships, okay. It will be in this folder. So in an indirect way, he is accessing these files according or you access these folders from this folder, okay. So the only way that he can't access the shares, okay, that this folder itself, it is down, okay, or this shared folder is down, okay. So at the end, we will make our DFS, and then we will make, sorry guys, and we will make a group policy to map the DFS department share. So this is, we will do it in this lab. And then also we have another thing I will discuss in this video, to make something called a top secret classification, okay. So what is the top secret classification? I will discuss it here. As I said before, we can classify files, or we have classified our files according to the location on the file server, according to the location and the department and the species. We will do a fourth classification. We will classify files according to the sensitivity of the data in it. So these are the files, different files, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and then we will create a classification, okay, a new classification that will tag files as top secret, okay, top secret, okay. This will be a classification, okay, and once any one of these files contains the word top secret, it will be tagged or the file will be tagged or classified as top secret, okay. So how or what is the benefit of doing this, I will tell you all. So after tagging the files as top secret, what we will do, we will use something called Active Directory Right Management Services. So this service, as soon as it sees a file that is classified as top secret, it will encrypt this file, okay, encrypt it, okay, and through some way we will let certain users see this encrypted files. For example, if you have top secret files in your organization and you need only, for example, Active Directory users of the IT or the GM to see it, we can do this through the classification of the file as top secret, and then we can use the Active Directory Right Management Service to encrypt the file and give certain users in the Active Directory the right to decrypt it and see it, for example the GM or so and so. In this lab, actually I will not discuss how we can set up the ADRMS, but I will show you the way to classify the files as top secret. I have discussed the Active Directory Right Management Service installation in my Transformers lab. Please see it or refer to it, and I will leave the links for how to set up the Active Directory Right Management Service in the description of this video. So without hesitation, let's begin our lab. So here we will begin making first the classification of top secret, okay. So here we will go and first of all we will go and see here this is the IP version 6 or the DHCP, but will not work with this anyway. It is we can pass it real quickly because we have done this in a previous video. So here what we will do, we will go now. Here I am just allowing two options in the DHCP, something called allow and deny filters. These are two options that you can control which type of PCs, okay, can take, or which PCs can take IP from the DHCP server based on their MAC address. And the MAC address, it is a very unique number that it is written on the network card adapter or the network adapter in the PC, okay. So we can, through this MAC address on the network card, to control which type of PCs or which PCs can take an IP from the DHCP. IP version 4, but this is related to IP version 4. So you can, through the MAC address, through the allow filter, allow some PCs to take IP based on their MAC address, or deny some PCs to take IP based on their MAC address, okay. So now we will do a new classification, create local property, okay, and then we will tell him top secret, okay. And then we will tell him, okay, that to tag the files according to the top, we will tag the files as top secret if he find the word top secret in any content, or it find the word top secret in the content of the files, okay. These files can be Word, Excel, PowerPoint, anyhow. So we will tell him to tag it as top secret, yes or no. So if he finds a file that contains the word top secret, he will give you an option to make it as a top secret file. So you can tell him, yes, this is a top secret file. You have two choices to tell him, yes, this is a top secret file, or no, this is not a top secret file. This is a manual way, but we will make it automatic through the classification rules. So we'll tell him to tag the files as top secret files as soon as he find in the content of the file the word top secret, okay. So we'll do this now. So here what we will do now, we will tell him create classification rule, and then we tell him top secret files. This is the rule name, and then the scope, it will search or it will tag any type of files, application files, group, user files, group files, backup or archiving files, application files, okay. So all type of files, and it will search for these top secret files. In which folder it will search it? In the data cube or the main folder in our file server, and this we will use the classification method of content classifier, and then we will use the top secret. If it is a top secret, we will give him the value yes, and then we will configure the content classifier rule. If he finds the string or the word top secret, he will tag the file as top secret, okay, by choosing the value yes. Okay, so now we will tell him to tag the file if he find in its content the word top secret. So now we will do this. Top secret, okay. If he find the string or the value of top secret, he will tag the file as top secret, and then also we will limit, according to this classification, certain users in the Active Directory to see these files. And not only this, we will encrypt the files as well, so the user can decrypt the files and read them. Okay, so now we will have I think what I'm doing here, I'm opening the let's wait for a moment. So here what I'm doing here, I am here typing in the file the word top secret, so I need to test my classification rule. So I will type top secret in this text file, and then I will run the rule. Okay, so after running the rule, this file will be tagged as top secret. We will see that now. We will tell him right click and run classification with all rules, or run all rules of classification, and we will have a report saying for us that he found a file that contains the word top secret and he has tagged the file as top secret. Okay, so we'll see that in a moment. So now just wait for a moment. He will get us a report saying that it has already found a file. Yes, it's found one file. This file, it is in the D data cube Columbia IT, and this file contains the word top secret, so he will tag the file with the value of top secret. Okay, then what we will do, we'll go to something called file management task. We will tell him to decrypt any file that has the classification or the tagging as top secret. So we will encrypt top secret files. Okay, this is the rule or file management task, and then the scope, what files you can encrypt, all type of files that have this value in it, the value of top secret. And then where are these files? They are in the data cube or on our file server data cube. Okay, and then we will tell him the action. What he will do, he will encrypt them using the write management service. Okay, and then here what we will do, we will tell him that after encrypting this file using the Active Directory write management service, we will tell him which one or which user has which rights on this encrypted file. So for example, the one that will have full control, this one can decrypt the file and see it, and the change also, this can decrypt the file and change in it. As for the read, he can read only the data, and he can decrypt the data, and he can read it only. Okay, so these three types of rights will give us more control over the encrypted files. So for example, you need your GM to decrypt the file, and he can change in the file. And then for example, you need certain users to decrypt the file and change in it something. Okay, but full control is more powerful. Okay, but change is less. Okay, so you can delegate, or you can have different rights for this encrypted file. For example, if you need some users to see only the classified data but don't change it, so you can use all of this. Okay, and these users, okay, they are not from the Active Directory or these are the emails of the user. So for example, when you create a user in the Active Directory, you have a field called email. Okay, so by this email, the Active Directory right management service will verify that you are the user that have the right to decrypt the file. So he will not use your Active Directory username, he will use your email or the email attached to your Active Directory username. So you need to have the email field in your Active Directory user properties to be filled, or if you don't have an email, you can put your Active Directory username at then the domain name. Okay, so this is another way to have a workaround on this one. Okay, so now we will do this. So this is a very good way to classify top secret files, to encrypt them and give certain users the rights to change it or to access it. Okay, and actually as I said before, we need to choose the user, but we will go further. So here, for example, everyone, then just a moment. So here, for example, here is I have my domain admin account and I don't have an email, but I have put in my domain admin account in the Active Directory this email. So I am the one be responsible for decrypting and encrypting this file. Okay, so we will do this, and I am the owner of this file. Okay, and then notification you can add if you need to send an email when this file is accessed or decrypted. So specify what notifications to generate before running the task. So this, if this task is run or it will begin decrypting the file, it will send you a notification saying that it is decrypting the file. So condition what when to run this rule or when to run the encryption of the files. You need to encrypt the file when you have the value or you have the file tagged as top secret equal to yes. So if the file have the value top secret, so the file should be tagged with the value yes. Okay, so I'm telling him to encrypt the file that it is top secret. Okay, and you need to have this top secret as a value of yes. Okay, so he will encrypt files that are classified as top secret. This is the condition for the file management task. So he will search for the files. If he find the file that have the classification of top secret, he will encrypt it, and he will give my domain admin account full rights on this full rights on this file, so I can decrypt it and read it and change in it. Okay, so this is equal to yes, and then you can tell him to run a schedule, so you can run this rule at any time. For example, you can run this encryption rule for example weekly or monthly or what so on. So you can run it every day, you can run it every week, you can run it every month, so you can have the facility or the flexibility to run this rule anytime. Okay, so and you can tell him to run continuously on new files. Okay, so this continuous operation run continuously on new files. So also you are telling him processed, here you can say that continuous operation only processes newly added files for tasks that can contain classification anyway. So we will use it and tell him to run this rule at certain time. You run it maybe on Friday, for example, maybe on Saturday. You can run it weekly. You can run it in all of the days of the week, or you can run it in certain days of the week. So you will enable run continuously on new files and enable logging. Okay, so this is the rule, but remember I didn't configure Active Directory right management service. I didn't configure this service in my lab, but as I said before, I have discussed how to set it up in my transformers lab, so please refer to my video concerning this. When I run the task, it will give me an error, okay, because I don't have the right management service or Active Directory right management service installed, so this will give us an error. So I try to search a lot of things, but at the end this was not the way. So what we will do now, we will begin now working with the DFS. So to work with the DFS system, we need to create a folder. First we will make a folder, we'll call it DFS. This is the folder that will contain the department shares folder, the one that I have discussed in the graph. So we'll make a folder and we will name it. So this is a way, or this is the way to create the DFS. So first you need to have a folder named DFS, and you have another folder that contains your department shares or the ship's shares. So we have two folders. The shares here, it is my data cube folder, or the file, or the main folder in my file server that contains all of the ship's shares, and this is the DFS folder, okay. And we need to share the data cube, the main folder on my file server, with the $sign. By doing this, we are make it as a hidden folder, okay. So anyway, let's see how this is done. We will go and share the data cube folder, okay, sharing it, okay, and then we need to have the NTFS share permissions and SMB share permissions. So here we will share this folder and put it as hidden, okay, so no one can see it, and give everyone full read permission, but it's not best practice to use the everyone group, so we put authenticated users, okay. So this is the way to create the DFS namespace. We will add the authenticated users, okay, and give it read permission, and make sure that the NTFS permission that they have read also. So here, I think here, just a moment, so here is telling you to have authenticated users to have read NTFS permissions, okay. So you need to make sure that this the shares or the data cube to have authenticated user and they have read permission, okay. So you need to have read permission and to have NTFS read permission. I think I didn't do this one because they have modify permissions, but we will see how this is done. So anyway, we will go, and this is the SMB share permissions. As for the NTFS, authenticated users have modify. I think they need to have read only. So, but I didn't know how to. I can play with these rights, but they should have SMB share have NTFS share permissions as read, okay. But here they have modify, so we need to make it read, okay. Because he is strictly saying that you need to give it NTFS share permissions as read, okay. So now we will tell him permissions, okay, and authenticated users read, but he's not telling us for the SMB share permissions. He is telling us about the NTFS share permissions. So we need to change this, okay. We need to change it from modify to read. This should be read, okay. This should be read, okay. So this is my mistake, I didn't do it, but I need to do this, okay. So I need to give it read permission as NTFS, okay. And actually I will add a couple of groups, because I have something called Starcom all species group. This also contains all of my users. Authenticated users, it is a group by default in the Active Directory. Any user that is have a right username, Active Directory username, and the password, and he successfully logged in to the domain, he will be put in this authenticated users Active Directory group. Now I am adding the Starcom species. This is another group that contains all of my users in the domain. I will add it, okay, also as NTFS, and give it read permissions. So Starcom Okay, and then we can give it read permissions, so it's had already read permissions, so that's good. And we need also to have authenticated users. I have removed them from the SMB share permissions. That will only have read. Okay, so we need to have the authenticated users to have read only. Okay, and as for the they have okay, we have the authenticated users, okay, to have read only the folder, but I didn't do this, so we need to take care to make authenticated users as read. Okay, we have made the SMB share permissions. As for the NTFS, we need to make the authenticated users as read, so we will add here also authenticated users. Then okay, apply and okay. So now we have our permissions done. We need to begin or do something. We'll begin to create the naming space. So now what we'll do, we'll begin creating the DFS namespace, but before that we will make a folder and we will call it all ships. This is a folder in my file server that contains a global file, or it is a folder that contains a share or folders that all ships can access it. So I am telling it all ships. So this is a shared folder for all ships, or it is a folder for all ships, they can access it. Okay, so we will make this folder and then we will create a new namespace. So we'll right click, can tell him new namespace. The one it will be StarTrek.local/deep. So this is the server name, so we need to tell him the server name, starcom underscore or starcom/01. Okay, and then this is the name of the server, and then we need to tell him the DFS namespace. This is the one that we will use to access the folders, the one that I've told you in the graph. Okay, just a moment guys. So let's continue guys. Now we will put our namespace. We will make or will share the department shares folder according to the domain name, so we will not name it according to the server. So now we will go and make the namespace StarTrek.local. First, this is the folder, the departments. Okay, we will put it. Okay, this is the folder, the department share that I have been discussing in the graph. So here we'll put it in the DFS folder. Okay, and you will give read-only permissions to this folder. Okay, so the users can access this share. Okay, that they have only read permissions. Okay, and we will see how we can give every department in every ship certain permissions. So the engineering in the Columbia ship will have only permissions to access their folder. Okay, and IT and so on. So custom will tell him not everyone. We will tell him the starcom all species or authenticated users. So we will give authenticated users read permission on this folder. Remember, this folder will contain all of the ship's folders. Later it will be inserted. So we have authenticated users. Okay, and then we give them read permission. Okay, so now this is the folder, the departments folder, and it will be named, okay, according, here we can see that the namespace will be named according to the domain. Okay, so here is the folder, the department shares folder. It will be shared as depths, and it will be accessed according to the domain name, not the server name. If you can see, this is the old one. This is, if it's a standalone, it will be accessed according to the server name, but this is the domain name. So this will give us an advantage. If one of the servers will be down, we can still access the folder shared because it is related to the domain name, not the server name. Okay, so now we'll do this. So you tell him next. Take care that we will use the domain namespace. So here it says the domain names is stored on one or more namespace servers in Active Directory domain services. So you can increase the availability of a domain-based namespace by using multiple servers. So this is telling you that this name will be can be distributed on two servers, file servers, that we have been discussing in the graph. So this is a good way. So we can use the domain-based namespace. This is more, we have more features, and we can use something called scalability and access-based enumeration. What is access-based enumeration? If you remember in the graph, just give you a small graph. Here we can see, for example, that the Columbia ship will have on the file server on the file server a folder by its name, but I need to show you all something here. So remember that Columbia ship will contain files for each department. So I need, after inserting these files in this share, I need to let the IT only see their share. So remember that the department shares will contain all of the Columbia ships, which contains all of the department's folders. So anyone can access all of the department folders, not his department folder. So what we will do, we will activate something on this folder called enumeration based. What this option it will do, if I give the IT folder read only, okay, on this folder, it will see only its folder, not the other department folders. We will see that when it comes, but take care of this option very clearly. We will see that how this is, it will be applied. Okay, so next, and then create. So we have created the namespace. We need to have the folder, so we need to have enable access based enumeration. This is one of the things we need to do. So we need to right click, okay, paste or properties, okay, and then we need to tell him to enable base enumeration. Okay, so this is based access enumeration. Okay, this needs access based enumeration hides folders in this namespace or in this depths department that users do not have permission to view. So as we will see later, we will add folders to this namespace, and we need certain users to see certain files in this namespace. So if they don't have read, they will not be able to see the folder from the existing. Don't worry, I will show you all this when it comes, but take care of it. I need just to make sure also that we have passed the time anyway. So we will tell him enable access based enumeration. So now we have used the option, okay, and then we will add in it, okay, the folder of the Columbia ship. Okay, and remember the Columbia ship have different department folders, so I need, when they access the namespace or the DFS namespace, to see only their department folder. So this is why we use something called enable based enumeration. I will show you all how this is done. We will go now and open this namespace. Okay, right click and tell him to add. I will make a new folder. Okay, so I'll make in this namespace a folder. Okay, I will put or name it as engineering. Okay, so take deep concentration in this point. We will make a folder in this namespace and we name it engineering, and then we will make it point this folder to point to our Colombia or our ship's engineering folder. So this is like a pointer. It will point, this folder will point to this location. Okay, so let's here concentrate on this. We will have the namespace. All of the users can access this namespace, and under this namespace we will make folders. These folders are pointers to other locations. For example, if I need ships to access the engineering folder in the Colombia ship, for example, so I will make a folder under this namespace and make it point to the folder of the engineering. Okay, so in the Colombia ship. So as we see here, this is our only pointers, and it will be controlled that they will see only in the all ships folder, or in the Colombia ship folder you will see only the engineering, because I will give them read only permission, and I have activated the enumerated based access option. Okay, so this is it. We will add it. And then after that, after doing all of this, we need to make a group policy to map the depths folder or the department shares folder to users. Okay, we will see that when it comes, but we need to make sure that we have all of our things are added. So we tell him okay, and then we need to tell him that this pointer or the engineering pointer, only the engineering Active Directory group can see it. So here we will tell him to explicitly view permissions. Okay, configure. We will tell him that this pointer, or this, the only one that can see the engineering pointer that points to the engineering share, it's only the engineering team. Okay, so here by doing this I will restrict only the engineering team to see the engineering folder. Okay, because you remember that all ships or the Colombia ships contains a lot of folders, not only the engineering folders. Okay, so here I will add the engineering team, and actually, by the way, this is a blog that I am using, or a text, or some instructions how to configure the DFS namespace and to map it by a group policy. Okay, it's a specific DFS group to be able to see DFS target. Okay, but anyway, so here telling us that the DFS folder only a certain group can see it. Okay, so here the Starcom engineering can see it. So this is it. They can see this folder, and we have already the DFS or the depths department. All of the users can see it, but this pointer in this namespace only the engineering team can see it. Okay, so now tell him apply and okay. I think now we will do something else. Go to the engineering, okay, and go to the security and specify that the engineering can have full control, I think, on this folder. Just a moment. Starcom engineering, okay. So we'll give it NTFS permissions to modify. Okay, I think we need to pass it a little bit. So here we will add, as I said before, the engineering team, and then I think we will add, okay, we have added already the engineering team and the IT. Okay, so we have full control of it, and the one will have modified. Okay, so now I will stop here at this one. We will add only the engineering share, okay, and then we'll begin adding the departments one by one. So because the video has reached an hour or almost, so we will stop at this point. It's the minute 32 seconds, so we will continue this video in part 2 and see how we can continue working with the namespace. So hope this video is informative for you all, and would like to thank you all for viewing. Thank you so much.